At my son's hospital bedside, an elderly woman in the next bed whispered, "Stay away from him while you still can." I'm Diane Sullivan, 65 years old. I smiled politely and said, "Thank you, ma'am." Then I went back to holding my son's hand, thinking she was confused, medicated, lost in her own fears. 3 weeks later, I discovered she wasn't confused at all. She was counting down the days until I'd lose everything, including my life. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please, stay with me until the end. I truly appreciate you being here. Before we continue, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is where you are right now. Just a quick note, this story includes some fictionalized elements added for storytelling and learning purposes. Any similarities to real people or places are purely coincidental, but the message behind it is meaningful and worth reflecting on. Now let me tell you how it all began. It started on a Tuesday afternoon, October 17th, 2023. I remember the exact date because it was the day everything changed. I was teaching my Tuesday yoga class at the Portland Community Center on Northeast 42nd Avenue. 23 women, most of them over 60 like me, moving through gentle stretches on purple mats under fluorescent lights. I'd been teaching this class for 8 years, ever since my husband Robert died of pancreatic cancer in 2015. Robert Sullivan. Even now, saying his name feels like touching something sacred. We were married for 37 years. He was a structural engineer, the kind of man who could fix anything with his hands, except his own failing body. Before he died, he made me promise 2 things: keep the family together, and never let anyone make me feel small. I kept the first promise. I tried so hard to keep it. The second one? Well, that's what this story is about. My phone rang at 2:47 p.m. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. I was in the middle of demonstrating warrior pose, but something made me pick up. "Is this Diane Sullivan?" A woman's voice, professional, careful. "Yes, this is Diane. Mrs. Sullivan, this is Providence Portland Medical Center. Your son, Tyler James Sullivan, has been in an automobile accident. He's in our emergency department. You should come right away." The room tilted. I heard myself say, "Is he alive?" "He's stable, ma'am, but please come as soon as possible." I don't remember telling my class I had to leave. I don't remember driving to the hospital. I just remember my hands shaking on the steering wheel, rain hammering against the windshield, and thinking, not Tyler. Please, God, not Tyler. Tyler was my baby. I know mothers aren't supposed to have favorites, but there's something about your youngest child, your only son, that carves out a special place in your heart. Jasmine, my daughter, had always been independent, moved to Seattle at 22, built her own architecture firm, called every Sunday but lived her own life. Tyler needed me more, or at least I thought he did. He was 40 years old, married to Nicole for 6 years, father to my only grandson Brandon. He sold real estate in Beaverton, drove a new Ford F-250, lived in a house with a 3-car garage. From the outside, Tyler had made it. He was successful, happy, from the outside. Providence Portland Medical Center sits on Northeast Glisson Street, a massive concrete building that always reminded me of a fortress. I'd been there before. When Robert was dying, I spent 72 days walking those halls, drinking bad coffee, praying in the chapel on the 3rd floor. I hated that building, but I ran through those doors anyway. "Tyler Sullivan," I gasped at the information desk. "My son. Car accident." The young woman, name tag said Jessica, typed quickly, then looked up with practiced sympathy. "3rd floor, Mrs. Sullivan, intensive care unit. Take the elevators on your right." Intensive care unit. Those 3 words made my knees weak. The elevator crawled upward. Soft jazz played overhead, some instrumental version of a song I didn't recognize. I wanted to scream at whoever thought jazz was appropriate for people rushing toward crisis. When the doors opened, Dr. Vanessa Hartley was waiting. I'd never met her before, but I'd see her again many times in the weeks to come. She was in her early 40s, black like me, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense manner that I immediately trusted. "Mrs. Sullivan," she extended her hand. "I'm Dr. Hartley. Your son is stable. He was in a single-vehicle accident on Highway 26, lost control and hit a guardrail. He sustained a concussion and we're monitoring him for any brain swelling over the next 48 to 72 hours. Can I see him?" "Of course. Follow me." She led me down a hallway that smelled like antiseptic and floor wax. We passed rooms with half-open doors, glimpses of people in beds, machines beeping, families keeping vigil. Finally, she stopped outside room 314. "He's awake but groggy," Dr. Hartley said. "Try to keep him calm." I pushed open the door. Tyler lay in the hospital bed, eyes half closed. There was a bandage wrapped around his head, an IV line in his left arm, monitors attached to his chest. He looked small in that bed, vulnerable, not like the confident 6'2" man who'd helped me move furniture last month. He looked like my little boy again. "Mama?" His voice was rough, tired. I rushed to his side, took his hand. "I'm here, baby. I'm right here." "What happened?" "You had an accident, but you're okay. The doctors are taking good care of you." He tried to smile, but it came out as more of a grimace. "My head hurts." "I know, just rest. I'm not going anywhere." And I meant it. For the next 72 hours, I barely left that room. Room 314 was small, just enough space for Tyler's bed, a chair for visitors, and a small table. There was a curtain dividing the room in half, and on the other side I could hear someone breathing. Slow, labored breaths. Another patient. I settled into the chair beside Tyler's bed and watched him sleep. The monitors beeped steadily. Heart rate, blood pressure, oxygen levels. All stable. Thank God. All stable. Around 7 p.m., a nurse came in. A young woman named Amanda with bright red hair and a gentle smile. She checked Tyler's vitals, adjusted something on the IV drip, and made notes on a tablet. "How's he doing?" I asked. "Very well, Mrs. Sullivan. All his numbers look good. Dr. Hartley will check on him again around 10 p.m., but I think your son is going to be just fine." "Thank you," I whispered, feeling tears prick my eyes. After Amanda left, the room fell quiet again, just the beeping of machines and the sound of rain against the window. I leaned back in the chair, exhausted. I hadn't eaten since breakfast, a piece of toast and coffee at 6 a.m. My back ached, my eyes burned, but I didn't want to leave. That's when I heard it. A voice, quiet, almost a whisper, coming from behind the curtain. "Stay away from him." I froze. "Stay away from him while you still can." I stood up slowly, my heart pounding, walked toward the curtain, pushed it aside just enough to see. An elderly white woman lay in the bed on the other side. She must have been in her early 70s, thin with white hair pulled back from a pale, lined face. Her eyes were open, staring right at me. "Excuse me?" I said softly. She didn't blink, just kept staring. And her eyes, God, her eyes looked terrified. "Stay away from him," she said again, her voice trembling. "While you still can." I glanced back at Tyler, then at her. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I think you're confused. That's my son. He was in an accident." "I know," she said. "I know. But you need to listen to me. Stay away from him before it's too late." A chill ran down my spine. Before I could respond, Amanda came back in, checked something on the woman's chart, and gently pulled the curtain closed again. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the curtain. My heart was racing. What the hell was that? I sat back down in my chair, hands gripping the armrests. Tried to shake it off. The woman was probably on strong medication. Confused. Didn't know what she was saying. But I couldn't stop thinking about her eyes. That fear. That warning. Stay away from him. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the window, pale and weak. I woke up with a stiff neck and a pounding headache. I dozed off in the chair around 4 a.m., my head tilted at an awkward angle. Tyler was still asleep. His breathing was steady, peaceful. I watched his chest rise and fall, grateful he was alive. Around 8 a.m., Amanda came back in with breakfast trays, one for Tyler, one for the woman behind the curtain. "Good morning, Mrs. Sullivan," Amanda said cheerfully. "There's a cafeteria on the first floor if you want to grab something to eat." My stomach was growling. I hadn't eaten in almost 24 hours. "I'll be right back," I told the sleeping Tyler. I went down to the cafeteria, got 2 cups of coffee and 2 turkey sandwiches. I don't know why I bought 2. Maybe it was because I grew up in a house where my grandmother always said, "If you're eating, everybody's eating." Maybe it was because the woman behind the curtain looked so alone. Or maybe it was because I wanted to understand what she'd meant. When I got back to the room, Tyler was still asleep. I moved quietly toward the curtain. "Ma'am?" I said softly. "Are you awake?" There was a pause. Then, "Yes." I pulled the curtain aside. She was sitting up now, her white hair pulled back in a simple bun. In the daylight, she looked less frightening. Just old, tired, sad. "I brought you some coffee," I said. "If you want it." She looked at the cup, then at me. For a moment, I thought she'd refuse. But then she reached out with both hands, they were shaking slightly, and took it. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I got a sandwich too, turkey." She nodded. I handed it to her, then pulled the visitor's chair closer to her bed. We didn't speak for a while, just sipped our coffee. Finally she said, "I'm Maya Torres. Diane Sullivan." "I know," she said. "I heard the nurse." I looked down at my coffee. "Look, Mrs. Torres, about last night. What you said—" "I wasn't confused," she cut me off. "I know what I said, and I meant it." I didn't know how to respond, so I just said, "That's my son in the other bed. Tyler. He's 40 years old. He's a good man. Real estate agent. Married. Has a 12-year-old son." Maya took a slow sip of her coffee. "Where's your daughter?" The question surprised me. "In Seattle. She's an architect. How did you—" "The nurse mentioned her yesterday when she was updating your son's chart. Said your daughter was on her way down from Seattle." "Oh, yes. Jasmine. She couldn't come immediately. She had a big client meeting, but she'll be here tomorrow." Maya nodded slowly. "And your husband?" My throat tightened. "He passed away 8 years ago. Pancreatic cancer." Her face softened. "I'm sorry." "Thank you." Silence settled between us again. Then Maya asked a question that caught me completely off guard. "How do you feel, Diane, when you're with Tyler?" I blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, how does he make you feel?" I opened my mouth, then stopped, thought about it. "I don't know," I said slowly. "Sometimes tired, like I'm always trying to keep up, trying to say the right thing, trying to help but not be too much." I paused. "Sometimes I feel small, like I'm not quite enough." Maya didn't say anything, just watched me with those tired eyes. "But that's normal, right?" I added quickly. "Kids grow up. They don't need you the way they used to. They have their own lives, their own families. It's natural to feel a little pushed out." "A son who loves you," Maya said quietly, "doesn't make you feel the way you just described, Diane." Her words hit me like a slap. I wanted to argue, wanted to tell her she was wrong, that she didn't know Tyler, didn't know us. But something stopped me, because deep down, in a place I didn't want to look, I knew she was right. "I had a son too," Maya said. "Just one, like you." I waited. "His name was David. David Michael Torres." She said his full name like it still hurt. "He was perfect. Smart, charming, successful. Visited me every week, brought me flowers, took care of my bills, my accounts. He said he wanted to make my life easier." "What happened?" I whispered. "I had a fall. Ended up in a hospital bed just like this one." She paused. "That's when my lawyer called. Said there'd been irregularities with my accounts." My chest tightened. "Turns out," Maya continued, her voice flat, emotionless, "David had been transferring money out of my accounts for years. Small amounts at first. $1,500 here, $3,000 there. Then bigger ones. $15,000, $28,000, $43,000. By the time I found out, he'd taken nearly everything." "My God," I breathed. "My savings, my retirement. Even my house was in his name. I'd signed it over 2 years earlier because he said it would help with taxes." She looked at me. I believed him, because he was my son, and I wanted to believe. "How much?" I asked. $287,000, Maya said. "And the house, worth another $340,000. I felt sick. "I called the police," Maya continued. "Pressed charges. He's in prison now. 12 years. He'll be out in 7 with good behavior." "I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry for me, Diane." She leaned forward slightly. "Be careful for yourself." "Tyler's not like that," I said automatically. "He wouldn't—" "Listen to me." Maya's voice was urgent now. "That first night before you came, I was awake when they brought your son in. He was conscious. Groggy, but conscious. My hands tightened around my coffee cup. He made a phone call, Maya said. I heard him. I heard him say your name, Diane. And then I heard other things. Things about accounts, about houses, about making sure the old woman doesn't find out. The room seemed to tilt. What? I whispered. That's when I knew, Maya said quietly. That's why I had to warn you. I shook my head, stood up so fast I almost knocked over my chair. No, you must have misheard. Tyler was confused. He didn't know what he was saying. He knew exactly what he was saying. You don't know him. My voice was louder than I intended. You don't know us. Tyler's been through a lot lately. Work stress, family stuff, but he wouldn't. He's my son. So was mine, Maya said. I stood there breathing hard. My mind was racing. Tyler on the phone, talking about accounts, about the house, about making sure I didn't find out. No, it didn't make sense. Tyler didn't need my money. He had his own career, his own life, his own house. But then I remembered something. About 3 months ago, Tyler had come over to the house. We'd sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Robert and I used to have coffee every morning, and Tyler had asked me about my retirement accounts. Mom, he'd said, I've been thinking. You're 65 now. Have you thought about organizing your finances? Making sure everything's in order? I'd thought it was sweet, thoughtful. I could help you, Tyler had continued. Set up some accounts. Make sure you're protected. Make sure everything's accessible. Accessible. I'd told him I'd think about it, and then I'd forgotten about it. Until now. I know this is hard to hear, Maya said gently. I know you don't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe it either. I looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who'd lost everything to her own son. But Diane, she said, and her voice was so kind it almost broke me. You remind me of myself. Back when I still believed. Back when I thought love was enough to protect me from the truth. I wanted to tell her she was wrong. That Tyler wasn't like David. That I wasn't like her. But I couldn't get the words out. Because somewhere deep down, a part of me was starting to wonder. 2 days passed. Tyler's condition improved steadily. The swelling in his brain remained minimal. Dr. Hartley was pleased. By Friday morning, October 20th, she gave him the all clear. You can go home today, Mr. Sullivan, she told Tyler. But take it easy for the next 2 weeks. No driving, no strenuous activity. Follow up with your primary care physician in 10 days. Tyler nodded. Tyler, got it, Doc. Thanks. I was standing by the window, watching the rain. Relief washed over me. He was okay. My son was okay. I'll bring the car around, I said, turning to Tyler. Help you get your things together. Tyler didn't look up from his phone. His thumbs moved quickly across the screen. Actually, Mom, Nicole's on her way. She's going to pick me up. I stopped. Oh, I thought I'd drive you home. Nah, it's fine. You've done enough already. He glanced at me briefly, then back to his phone. You should go home. Get some rest. You look tired. The words stung more than they should have. I'd spent 3 nights in that chair, barely slept, barely eaten, and now he was dismissing me like I was an inconvenience. I don't mind, I said carefully. I want to make sure you get home safe. Mom, his tone was sharper now. I'm fine. Nicole's got it covered. I stood there, not knowing what to say. Tyler had always been independent. Even as a child, he'd hated asking for help. But this felt different. This felt like he was pushing me away. Okay, I said finally. If that's what you want. It is. I grabbed my jacket from the chair. Well, I'll wait until Nicole gets here. Make sure you're all set. Tyler sighed, but didn't argue. 20 minutes later, I heard heels clicking down the hallway. Sharp, quick steps. Nicole. She pushed through the door, her eyes immediately landing on Tyler. Baby, are you okay? She rushed to his side, took his hand in both of hers. Nicole was 34, 10 years younger than Tyler. Beautiful in that carefully maintained way, blonde hair always perfect, designer clothes, manicured nails. She worked in marketing for a tech company downtown. I'd never quite warmed to her, and she'd never quite warmed to me. I'm fine, Tyler said, smiling at her. A real smile, the kind he hadn't given me in days. Nicole fussed over him, adjusting his collar, smoothing his hair. Her grip on his hand was tight, possessive. Hi, Nicole, he said. She glanced at me, barely. Diane! Not Mom, not Mrs. Sullivan, just Diane. Like I was an acquaintance, a coworker. Thanks for staying with him, she added, her voice flat. Polite, but cold. Of course. He's my son. She didn't respond, just turned back to Tyler. Come on, let's get you home. I've got the car running downstairs. Tyler stood slowly, a little unsteady. Nicole wrapped an arm around his waist, supporting him. He leaned into her. I stepped forward. Tyler, if you need anything, we're good, Mom. He didn't look at me, just let Nicole guide him toward the door. I followed them into the hallway, watched as they walked to the elevator. Nicole pressed the button. The doors opened. They stepped inside. And that's when it happened. Nicole turned, looked at me over Tyler's shoulder. Our eyes met. And the look she gave me, it wasn't just cold, it was calculating. Like she was sizing me up, like I was a problem she was trying to figure out how to solve. Then she leaned in, kissed Tyler's cheek. But her eyes never left mine. The elevator doors closed. I stood there in the empty hallway, my heart pounding. Something about that look, something about the way she'd held him, the way she'd brushed me off. Something was wrong. I turned and walked back to room 314. The bed was stripped. The monitors were off. The room was already empty, like Tyler had never been there. I looked at the curtain dividing the room. Maya. I hadn't said goodbye. I walked over, pulled the curtain aside. The bed was empty, stripped clean, just like Tyler's. Excuse me, I said to a passing nurse. A different one, not Amanda. The woman who was in this bed, Mrs. Torres, is she? Oh, she checked out early this morning, the nurse said. Around 6 a.m., I think. Said she was feeling better and wanted to go home. 6 in the morning, before I'd even woken up. Did she leave anything? Any message? The nurse thought for a moment. I'm not sure. Let me check. She walked into the room, looked around, then pointed to the pillow. There's something there. I walked over. On the pillow, folded neatly, was a small piece of paper. Hospital stationery. I picked it up, unfolded it. 4 words, written in shaky handwriting. Trust your instincts, Diane. I stared at the note for a long time. Read it again and again. Trust your instincts. My instincts were screaming at me right now, telling me something was off, telling me to pay attention, to watch, to be careful. But my heart was telling me I was being paranoid, that Tyler was my son, that Nicole was just protective, that Maya was a stranger who didn't know my family. I folded the note, slipped it into my pocket, walked out of the room, out of the hospital, into the parking lot. The rain had stopped. The sun was trying to break through gray clouds. Portland was waking up around me, people going to work, living their lives. And I stood there in the middle of the parking lot with a note in my pocket and a knot in my stomach. Trust your instincts, Diane. But what if my instincts were wrong? What if I was about to ruin everything over nothing? I got in my car. A 2019 Honda CR-V. Practical, reliable, paid off. Robert had helped me pick it out 2 months before he died. I drove home. The note burned in my pocket the whole way. A week passed. 7 days of trying to convince myself everything was fine. Tyler called twice. Short conversations, mostly about his recovery. I'm good, Mom. Just resting. Nicole's taking care of me. He didn't invite me over. Didn't ask me to visit. On Friday, October 27th, he finally came to see me. It was 2:15 p.m. when I heard his truck pull into my driveway. I was in the kitchen making tea, chamomile, the kind my grandmother used to make when she said someone needed calming down. My hands had been shaking all morning, though I couldn't explain why. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Tyler standing there, looking healthy. The bandage was gone from his head. He was wearing jeans and a Nike hoodie, holding his laptop bag. And beside him was Brandon. Grandma! My grandson ran forward and wrapped his arms around my waist. My heart melted. Brandon was 12 years old, all long limbs and bright eyes. He had Tyler's smile, but my late husband's gentle nature. Hi, baby, I said, hugging him tight. I missed you so much. Mom told me you stayed with Dad at the hospital for 3 whole days, Brandon said, pulling back to look at me. That's awesome. Of course I did. That's what grandmas do. Tyler stepped inside, kissed my cheek. Hey, Mom, you look good. I wanted to say, You look like you're about to ask me for something, but I didn't. We settled in the living room, the same living room where Robert and I had raised our children. Family photos covered the mantel. Tyler's high school graduation, Jasmine's wedding, Brandon's 7th birthday party. The brown leather couch was worn but comfortable. The coffee table still had the water ring from where Robert used to set his morning coffee. Tyler set his laptop on the coffee table, opened it. "So, Mom," he said, his voice casual, friendly. "I've been thinking. You're 65 now. Have you thought about organizing your finances? Really getting everything in order?" Brandon was on the floor playing with his phone, not paying attention. "I've thought about it," I said carefully. "Good, because I did some research." Tyler turned the laptop toward me. There was a spreadsheet on the screen, rows of numbers, account names, percentages. "I think we should consolidate your retirement accounts. Move everything into a joint management portfolio. That way, if something happens, and I'm not saying it will, but if something happens, everything's accessible." Protected. That word again. Accessible. "What do you mean by joint management?" I asked. "Just that we'd both have access. You'd still control everything, obviously, but I could help monitor things. Make sure you're getting good returns. Make sure no one's taking advantage of you." He smiled. That same smile that used to make me melt when he was 5 years old. "I actually brought the paperwork," Tyler continued, pulling a folder from his laptop bag. "Just needs your signature. We can get this set up by next week." I looked at the papers. There were sticky notes marking where I should sign. At least 6 places. "Tyler, I need time to think about this." His smile flickered. Just for a second. "Mom, there's nothing to think about. This is standard stuff. Just protecting your assets." "I understand, but don't you trust me?" His voice was still friendly, but there was an edge now, a sharpness underneath. "Of course I trust you. You're my son. But this is a big decision. I need to review everything first. Maybe talk to someone." "Talk to who?" "A financial advisor who's going to charge you $300 an hour to tell you the same thing I'm telling you for free." Brandon looked up from his phone, sensing the tension. I kept my voice calm. "I just need some time, honey. Let me look over the paperwork. I'll call you next week." Tyler stared at me for a long moment. Then he closed the laptop, gathered the papers back into the folder. "Sure, Mom. Take your time." His voice was tight now, irritated. He stood up. "Come on, Brandon, we need to get going." "But Grandma just made cookies," Brandon protested. "We'll get cookies at home." I walked them to the door. Tyler didn't kiss me goodbye this time, just said, "Think about it, Mom. This is important." Then he was gone. I stood at the door watching his truck pull away. My hands were shaking again. "Think about it, Mom. This is important." Why did it feel like a threat? That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the paperwork, about Tyler's insistence, about the way he'd gotten frustrated when I asked for time, about Maya Torres' words. I heard him talking about accounts, about making sure the old woman doesn't find out. At 11:47 p.m., I picked up my phone and called Jasmine. She answered on the 3rd ring, voice groggy. "Mom? What's wrong?" "I'm sorry, baby. I know it's late. I need to ask you something." "Hold on." I heard rustling, a door closing. "Okay, I'm in the office. What's going on?" "Tyler came by today." "How is he? Is he feeling better?" "He's fine. But Jazzy, he wanted me to sign paperwork, to put my retirement accounts under joint management." Silence. "Jasmine? Joint management?" Her voice was sharp now, alert. "As in, he'd have access to your accounts?" "He said it was to protect me, to make sure everything was accessible if something happened." "Mom," Jasmine's voice was deadly serious. "Do not sign anything. Do you hear me?" "Nothing." "Why? What's wrong?" "I don't know yet. But my gut is telling me this isn't right. Tyler's never mentioned your finances before. Why now? Why suddenly?" "He said he's been thinking about it. Since when does Tyler think about anyone's finances but his own?" Jasmine cut me off. "Mom, I love my brother, but he's not exactly the type to worry about estate planning." Something's off. I felt relief wash over me. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't being paranoid. "What should I do?" I asked. "Don't sign anything. Don't give him access to anything. And Mom, I'm coming home this weekend." "You don't have to. I'm coming home. I'll be there Saturday morning." After we hung up, I sat in the dark living room for a long time. The house was quiet. Too quiet. This was the house where Robert and I had built our life, where we'd raised our children, where we'd planned to grow old together. Robert never got to grow old, but before he died, before the cancer took everything from him, he made me promise. Diane, don't let anyone make you feel small. You're stronger than you think. I walked to my bedroom, opened the top drawer of my dresser. Underneath the scarves and gloves was a small wooden box, the one Robert's mother had given us as a wedding gift. Inside was Maya Torres's note. Trust your instincts, Diane. I held it in my hands. Then I made a decision. Tomorrow, I would go to the bank. The next week was busy at the community center. We had a food drive, a health fair, and I was teaching extra yoga classes to cover for another instructor who was out sick. On Wednesday, November 1st, I worked the evening shift, helping set up for a senior dance that started at 7 p.m. By the time I finished cleaning up, it was 2:15 a.m. I was exhausted as I drove home through empty Portland streets. Northeast 42nd Avenue was dark and quiet. Most of the houses had their lights off. Normal people were asleep. I turned onto my street, Northeast Siskiyou, and that's when I saw it. Tyler's truck, parked in front of my house. My heart started pounding. What is he doing here at 2:15 in the morning? I pulled into my driveway slowly, cut the engine, sat there for a moment, trying to decide what to do. Then I saw a light flicker inside my house. In the back room, my office. I got out of the car as quietly as I could, walked to the front door. It was unlocked. I pushed it open. The house was dark except for that light in the office. I could hear something, rustling, papers moving, a drawer opening and closing. I walked down the hallway, my heart hammering in my chest. The office door was open. Tyler was there. He was kneeling in front of my filing cabinet, the bottom drawer pulled out, papers spread across the floor. He had his phone out, taking pictures of documents. Tyler? He spun around, his face going white. Mom! Jesus, you scared the hell out of me! I stood in the doorway, staring at him, at the papers, at my filing cabinet. What are you doing here? My voice was calm, deadly calm. I was looking for something. He stood up quickly, nearly knocking over a stack of folders. The title for my old car. I'm selling it, and I thought I left the paperwork here. At 2:30 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. He tried to smile, but it came out wrong, forced. I thought I'd take care of it now. I still have a key from when I lived here. I hope that's okay. It wasn't okay. What were you taking pictures of? I asked. What, I saw you, with your phone, taking pictures of my papers. Tyler's jaw tightened. Mom, you're imagining things. I was just using my phone's flashlight. I looked at the floor. My financial documents were spread out. Bank statements, investment accounts, property deeds. Nothing about car titles. You need to leave, I said quietly. Mom. Now, Tyler. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he grabbed his jacket, pushed past me, and walked down the hallway. The front door slammed behind him. I heard his truck start. Heard him drive away. Then I walked back into the office. The filing cabinet was a mess. Documents were out of order. Folders were mixed together. Someone had searched through them quickly, carelessly. I started putting things back, trying to remember where everything went. That's when I noticed it. My checkbook was on the desk. I always kept it in the top drawer of my desk, in the same spot. But now it was out, sitting in plain view. I opened it. 3 checks were missing, not torn out cleanly, ripped out, leaving jagged edges. Checks numbered 1847, 1848, and 1849. Gone. I looked at the clock on the wall, 3:15 a.m. The same time Maya's husband's watch had stopped. The same time she'd realized the truth about her son. I sat down at my desk, my whole body shaking. And I knew. Maya Torres had been right all along. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table until sunrise, drinking coffee, staring at my checkbook. 3 missing checks. At 9 a.m. sharp, I called Providence Bank on Northeast Broadway, the bank where I'd had accounts for 23 years. Providence Bank, this is Christina Walsh speaking. How may I help you? Christina. Thank God. She'd been my account manager for 15 years. She'd helped me set up Robert's life insurance after he died. She'd walked me through estate planning, retirement accounts, everything. "Christina, this is Diane Sullivan. I need to come in today. I have questions about my accounts." There was a pause. "Of course, Mrs. Sullivan. Is everything all right?" "I don't know yet. That's what I need to find out." "I have an opening at 2 p.m. Will that work?" "I'll be there." I spent the morning going through every document in my office, every bank statement, every investment record, every piece of paper I could find. At 1:45 p.m., I drove to the bank. Providence Bank sat in a brick building on Northeast Broadway and 12th. I'd walked through those doors hundreds of times, but today my hands were shaking as I pulled the door open. Christina met me in the lobby. She was 42, black, always professional, always kind. Today her smile seemed worried. "Mrs. Sullivan," she said, shaking my hand. "Come to my office." We walked past the teller stations, past the waiting area with its outdated magazines, into a small office with a desk and 2 chairs. Christina closed the door. "What's going on?" she asked gently. I pulled out my checkbook, showed her the missing checks. "I think someone has been accessing my accounts," I said. "I need you to pull up every transaction for the past 6 months." Christina's face went serious. She turned to her computer, typed quickly. Then her expression changed. "Mrs. Sullivan," she said slowly, "there are several transactions here that I need to ask you about." My stomach dropped. She turned the screen toward me. "April 18th, 2023. Transfer to Tyler J. Sullivan, $25,000. July 22nd, 2023. Transfer to Tyler J. Sullivan, $40,000. I stared at the screen. "I didn't authorize those." Christina printed out the authorization forms, handed them to me. There was my name, Diane Marie Sullivan. There was Tyler's name, Tyler James Sullivan. And at the bottom, a signature that looked exactly like mine. The loop in the D, the way the S crossed over itself, the small tail on the final N. Perfect. But I hadn't signed these papers. "Christina," I whispered. "I didn't sign these." She looked at me carefully. "Mrs. Sullivan, are you sure? These signatures?" "I'm sure." She pulled up more records, clicked through screens. "There's something else," she said quietly. "In March of this year, a joint account was opened under your name and Tyler's name." "What?" She showed me. "Joint account number 4729-8841, opened March 15th, 2023. Account holders, Diane M. Sullivan, Tyler J. Sullivan. On April 3rd, $50,000 was transferred from your retirement fund into this account," Christina continued. "On April 19th, the entire balance was withdrawn." The room was spinning. "Show me everything," I said. "Every transaction, every account, everything." Christina printed out page after page. April 18th, $25,000 to Tyler. July 22nd, $40,000 to Tyler. April 3rd, $50,000 to joint account. April 19th, $50,000 withdrawn. Total, $115,000, $115,000. Gone. I couldn't breathe. "Mrs. Sullivan?" Christina's voice sounded far away. "Mrs. Sullivan, are you all right?" "No," I whispered. "No, I'm not all right." She poured me a glass of water. I drank it, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped the cup. "If these signatures are forged," Christina said carefully, "this is very serious. This is bank fraud, identity theft." "I know. What do you want me to do?" I looked at the papers spread across her desk. $115,000, my retirement money. The money Robert and I had saved for 30 years. The money that was supposed to keep me comfortable in my old age. Stolen by my own son. "Freeze my accounts," I said. "All of them. No more transfers, no more withdrawals. Nothing without my physical presence and 2 forms of ID. I can do that today. And I need copies of everything, every document, every authorization form, every transaction." Christina nodded. "I'll get started right now." While she worked, I sat in that chair, staring at nothing. $115,000. I thought about all the times Tyler had said he was doing well. The new truck, the big house, the expensive vacations he posted on Facebook. I'd been so proud of him. Thought he was successful. He wasn't successful. He was a thief. Christina handed me a manila envelope, thick with papers. It's all here, Mrs. Sullivan, and I've frozen your accounts. No one can access them now except you." "Thank you," I whispered. "Mrs. Sullivan," Christina said gently, "you should talk to a lawyer, and be careful." I nodded. I drove home in a daze, parked in my driveway, sat in my car for 20 minutes, unable to move. Then I called Jasmine. She answered immediately. "Mom?" I started crying, just broke down completely. Couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, just sobbed into the phone. "Mom! Mom, what's wrong? Where are you?" "Home," I gasped. "I'm home." "I'm coming. Don't move. I'm getting in my car right now." "Jazzy, don't argue. I'll be there in 3 hours." She hung up. I sat in my car, holding that manila envelope, crying. Not because of the money, but because the son I'd raised, the son I'd loved, the son I'd sat beside in that hospital bed, praying he'd survive. That son had stolen from me, and according to those dates, he'd been stealing from me for months. Long before the accident. Long before I'd sat in that hospital room. Long before Maya Torres had whispered her warning. Jasmine arrived at 5:47 p.m. I heard her car screech into the driveway, a sound so unlike my careful, measured daughter that I knew she'd been speeding the whole way from Seattle. She burst through the door, found me sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by papers. "Mom?" She wrapped her arms around me, and I started crying again. Deep, wrenching sobs that I couldn't control. "I've got you," Jasmine whispered. "I've got you, Mama. I'm here." We stayed like that for a long time. Finally, she pulled back, looked at my face. "Tell me everything." So I did. I told her about Tyler's visit last week, about the paperwork he wanted me to sign, about finding him in my office at 3:15 a.m., about the missing checks, about the bank, about the $115,000. Jasmine's face went from concern to shock to fury. "I'm going to kill him," she said flatly. "Jasmine, no, Mom. I'm serious. I'm going to drive to his house right now and—" "Stop!" I grabbed her hand. "Don't. Please. He stole from you. He forged your signature. Her voice broke. "How could he do this to you?" "I don't know, baby." She looked at the papers spread across the table, picked up the authorization forms, studied my forged signature. "This is good," she said quietly. "This signature. It's really good. I know. He practiced this. He planned this." She looked at me, tears in her eyes. "This wasn't desperation, Mom. This was calculated." I couldn't argue with her, because she was right. The dates proved it. April, July, March. This had been going on for 8 months. Methodical. Planned. "Why?" I whispered. "We gave him everything. Your father worked 2 jobs to send him to college. We helped with his wedding. My voice broke. Why wasn't it enough?" Jasmine came around the table, knelt beside my chair, took both my hands. "This isn't about you, Mom. This isn't about what you did or didn't do. This is about Tyler making a choice, a terrible, selfish choice. But I'm his mother. I should have seen something. Should have known. How?" Jasmine's voice was fierce now. "How were you supposed to know your own son was stealing from you? You're not supposed to have to protect yourself from your own child." I looked at my daughter, strong, smart, loyal Jasmine, and felt a wave of gratitude. "What do I do?" I asked. "We call a lawyer," Jasmine said. "Right now." She pulled out her phone, scrolled through contacts. "I know someone, Patricia Owens. She specializes in elder financial abuse. She's helped some of my clients with estate issues." Elder abuse? The words felt foreign, wrong. "Mom, that's what this is." Jasmine called, put it on speaker. "Patricia Owens' law office." "Patricia, it's Jasmine Sullivan. I need help. It's urgent. It's about my mother." Patricia Owens could see us the next day, Friday, November 3rd at 10 a.m. Her office was in the Pearl District, on Northwest 11th Avenue, in one of those renovated warehouse buildings with exposed brick and too much glass. Jasmine drove. I sat in the passenger seat, clutching the manila envelope. Patricia met us in the lobby, a black woman in her mid-40s, wearing a navy suit, hair pulled back in a neat bun. Her handshake was firm, her eyes sharp and assessing. "Mrs. Sullivan, Jasmine, come to my office." We followed her to a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. She gestured to 2 chairs across from her desk. "Tell me what happened." I told her. Everything. From Tyler's hospital visit to Maya Torres' warning to the midnight office invasion to the bank discovery. I showed her the papers, the forged signatures, the transactions, the joint account. Patricia listened without interrupting, made notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she set down her pen and looked at me. "Mrs. Sullivan," she said quietly, "this is bank fraud, identity theft, and elder financial abuse. These are serious crimes. Your son could go to prison for this." My stomach dropped. Prison? These aren't minor infractions. We're talking about $115,000, forged documents, systematic theft over 8 months. She paused. "But before we talk about criminal charges, we need to protect you. Right now." "How?" Jasmine asked. Patricia ticked off on her fingers. "First, you've already frozen your bank accounts. Good. Second, we change every password, every PIN, every security question. Everything. Third, we check every other account you have, credit cards, investments, property deeds. Make sure there's nothing else." "Okay," I said. "Fourth," Patricia continued, "we hire a private investigator." I blinked. "A private investigator?" "Mrs. Sullivan, your son has been stealing from you for 8 months. We need to know why. Is it gambling? Drugs? Another woman? Debt? Because people don't steal $115,000 for no reason. And whatever that reason is, it tells us what he might do next." "What do you mean, what he might do next?" My voice was shaking. Patricia leaned forward. "I've handled dozens of cases like this. And in my experience, when adult children steal from elderly parents, they don't stop at $115,000. They keep going until there's nothing left. Or," she paused, "or until the parent is no longer around to stop them." The room went cold. "Are you saying," Jasmine started, "I'm saying we need to know what we're dealing with, and we need to move fast." Patricia picked up her phone, called someone. "Simon, it's Patricia Owens. I need your help. I'm sending you a case file today." "Yes, financial abuse. Elder victim, adult child perpetrator." "Can you start Monday?" She hung up. "Simon Hayes, former police detective, now private investigator. He specializes in financial crimes. He'll follow Tyler, check his accounts, see where the money went." I felt sick. I have to hire someone to spy on my own son?" Patricia's voice was gentle but firm. "Mrs. Sullivan, you have to protect yourself. That's what this is about now. Protection." I looked at Jasmine. She nodded. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay." We left Patricia's office an hour later with a plan, a contract, and a retainer invoice for $5,000. In the car, Jasmine said, "I'm paying that retainer." "Jasmine, no." "I'm paying it, Mom. You've already lost $115,000. I'm not letting you spend more because of Tyler." I started crying again. "I'm so sorry, baby." "For what?" "For this. For dragging you into this. For— Mom!" Jasmine pulled the car over, turned to face me. "You didn't do this. Tyler did. And I'm here because I love you. Because you're my mother. And because someone needs to protect you since your son won't." She reached over, wiped my tears. "We're going to fix this," she said. "Together." I nodded. But as we drove back to my house, I couldn't stop thinking about Patricia's words. People don't stop at $115,000. They keep going until the parent is no longer around to stop them. What if Tyler wasn't done? What if $115,000 was just the beginning? Simon Hayes started work on Monday, November 6th. He came to my house first, a man in his early 50s, average height, average build, the kind of face you'd forget 5 minutes after meeting him, which he explained was exactly the point. "I blend in," he said, sitting at my kitchen table. "That's how I get the job done." He asked me questions for 2 hours about Tyler's habits, his schedule, his friends, his marriage. About Nicole, about their house in Beaverton, a 4-bedroom colonial on Southwest Butner Road that they'd bought 3 years ago. "What does Tyler drive?" Simon asked. "A Ford F-250, black, 2022 model." Simon made notes. "License plate?" I gave it to him. I knew it by heart. I'd followed that truck to soccer games, school plays, family dinners for years. "One more thing," Simon said. "Do you have any idea where the money went? The $115,000? I shook my head. Tyler said he was doing well. He got promoted last year at the real estate agency. I thought he was successful. We'll see, Simon said. He followed Tyler for 5 days. On Friday, November 10th, he called me. Mrs. Sullivan, we need to meet, in person. There's something you need to see. We met at a coffee shop on Northeast Sandy Boulevard, a quiet place where we wouldn't be recognized. Jasmine drove down from Seattle again. Patricia Owens joined us. Simon brought a folder. Thick. He opened it. The first thing I saw were photographs. Tyler walking into a building with neon signs. Fortune Casino, Portland's premier gaming. The parking lot was full. The sign advertised $5 blackjack tables and poker tournaments daily. More photos. Tyler at a poker table, cards in hand. Tyler at a blackjack table, chips stacked in front of him. Tyler walking out at 2:47 a.m., head down, shoulders slumped. He's been going 3 to 4 times a week, Simon said, for at least 6 months. My hands were shaking. Gambling? Poker mostly. Some blackjack, some roulette. Simon pulled out more papers. I have contacts in the industry. I was able to get information on his losses. He showed me a spreadsheet. April, minus $18,000. May, minus $22,000. June, minus $31,000. July, minus $28,000. August, minus $34,000. September, minus $41,000. Jesus Christ, Jasmine whispered. That's $174,000 in 6 months, Patricia said, her voice tight. But he didn't have $174,000, Simon said, which is where these people come in. He showed us more documents, names I didn't recognize, companies that sounded legitimate but weren't. Cascade Financial Solutions, $45,000 at 18% monthly interest. Northwest Capital Group, $67,000 at 22% monthly interest. Portland Investment Trust, $58,000 at 20% monthly interest. These are predatory lenders, Simon explained. The kind that operate in gray areas, legal enough not to get shut down, illegal enough that they don't follow traditional collection methods. What does that mean? I asked. Simon looked at me carefully. It means they threaten people, their families, their property. They don't take people to court. They take them to abandoned warehouses. I felt cold all over. Tyler currently owes $186,000 to these 3 organizations, Simon continued. The interest compounds monthly. If he doesn't pay, that number becomes $223,200 in 30 days, $267,840 in 60 days. How is he even alive? Jasmine asked. These people, don't they hurt people who don't pay? They do, Simon said, which is why Tyler's been making minimum payments. Just enough to keep them from acting. But he's running out of money, and he's running out of time. I stared at the photos. My son, my baby boy, standing in a casino at 2 a.m. losing everything. There's one more thing, Simon said quietly. He pulled out his phone, played a recording. Tyler's voice filled the coffee shop. My mom? Yeah, she's loaded. House is paid off, worth at least $450,000. Retirement accounts, probably another $300,000. She's 65, lives alone. Once I get access to her accounts, I can pay off these guys and start fresh. Another voice. Your own mother? That's cold, man. Tyler. She'll be fine. She doesn't need all that money. What's she gonna do with it? She's 65, living alone in a house too big for her. She should be in assisted living anyway. I'm actually doing her a favor. The recording stopped. I couldn't breathe. She should be in assisted living anyway. I'm actually doing her a favor. Patricia put her hand on mine. Jasmine was crying, her face red with rage. Where did you get this? Patricia asked Simon. He was at a bar near the casino Tuesday night talking to another gambler. I was 3 seats away with a recording device. This is admissible? Patricia asked. Oregon is a one-party consent state for recording. I'm the one party. Yes, it's admissible. Patricia looked at me. Mrs. Sullivan, this is enough. We can go to the police right now. Press charges. He'll be arrested. I should have said yes. I should have ended it right there. But all I could think about was 12-year-old Brandon. About Nicole, who maybe didn't know what Tyler was doing. About Christmas, about Thanksgiving, about birthdays. About the family I'd promised Robert I'd keep together. I need to talk to him first. I said. Mrs. Sullivan, Patricia started. I need to talk to my son. Before I could arrange to talk to Tyler, something else happened. On Tuesday, November 14th, my phone rang at 8:23 a.m. Christina Walsh from Providence Bank. Mrs. Sullivan, I need you to come to the bank immediately. What's wrong? Someone tried to open a life insurance policy in your name. I need you to see this. Right now. I was there in 20 minutes. Christina's face was grave as she closed her office door. This came through our affiliated insurance partner yesterday. She handed me papers. Secure Life Insurance Company, whole life policy application. Insured Diane Marie Sullivan, DOB, March 15, 1958, death benefit, $500,000. Beneficiaries, primary, Tyler James Sullivan, 60%, $300,000. Secondary, Jasmine Marie Sullivan, 40%, $200,000. I stared at the page. I didn't apply for this, I whispered. I know. Christina pointed to the signature line. But look, my signature, perfect, the exact same signature from the bank transfers. There's more, Christina said. There's a medical examination scheduled for you next Wednesday, November 22nd, at 9 a.m. If you attend that exam and pass, the policy goes into effect immediately. And if something happens to me, Tyler receives $300,000. The room spun. Mrs. Sullivan, I already contacted Secure Life. I told them this is fraud. They're canceling the application. But, she leaned forward, you need to call the police. This isn't just theft anymore. I called Patricia from the bank parking lot. She said one word. Detective Rodriguez, I'll set up a meeting. We met Detective Maria Rodriguez at the Portland Police Bureau on Wednesday, November 15th. She was in her early 40s, sharp-eyed, no nonsense. Her office was small, cluttered with case files. Mrs. Sullivan, she said after I'd told her everything, I'm opening an official investigation into your son for bank fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. But I need to be honest with you. These cases are hard to prosecute without catching the perpetrator in the act. What do you mean? Jasmine asked. I mean, Tyler can claim you gave him permission for the transfers, that you forgot, that you signed documents and don't remember. He can muddy the waters enough that a jury might have reasonable doubt. She paused. But this life insurance policy, that's different. That shows intent. That shows he's escalating. Escalating to what? I asked, though I already knew. Mrs. Sullivan, when someone takes out a life insurance policy on another person without their knowledge, and that person stands to inherit money upon their death, Rodriguez met my eyes. We have to consider the possibility that your son might try to harm you. No, I shook my head. No, Tyler wouldn't. Mrs. Sullivan. Rodriguez's voice was gentle but firm. Your son has stolen $115,000 from you. He owes $186,000 to dangerous people. He's taken out a $500,000 life insurance policy with himself as the primary beneficiary. And according to the timeline, you're the only thing standing between him and solving all his problems. I felt tears on my face. Jasmine grabbed my hand. What do we do? Patricia asked. We catch him, Rodriguez said. We set up a sting operation. We get him to incriminate himself on record, in a way he can't deny. How? I asked. Rodriguez leaned back in her chair. We make him think his plan is working. The plan was simple. I would invite Tyler to the house for Thanksgiving dinner, November 23rd, just over a week away. During dinner, I would bring up the life insurance policy casually, as if I'd received a notice about it. Patricia would be there, hidden in the next room, recording everything. But on November 20th, something changed the plan. Tyler called me. Hey, Mom, can I come by? I need to talk to you about something important. My hands went cold. Of course, honey. When? How about tomorrow, around 2 p.m.? I called Rodriguez immediately. She said, perfect. We'll wire you up. The next day, November 21st, 2023, Detective Rodriguez came to my house at noon. She showed me a small recording device, no bigger than a button. We'll put this under your collar. It'll record everything. Patricia was there too. Mrs. Sullivan, you don't have to do this. We can wait, gather more evidence. No, I said. I need to know. I need to hear him say it. They wired me up. Rodriguez and 2 other officers positioned themselves in my office with monitoring equipment. Patricia sat in the kitchen, out of sight. At 1:58 p.m., Tyler's truck pulled into the driveway. I opened the door. He looked terrible. Thinner than I remembered. Dark circles under his eyes. His clothes, usually so neat, were wrinkled. "Hi, Mom." "Come in, baby." We sat in the living room. I made tea. My hands were shaking, but I kept them steady. "How are you feeling?" I asked. "You look tired." "I'm okay, just stressed." He took a breath. "Mom, I need to ask you something." "What is it?" "I need money. I need it badly." His voice cracked. "I'm in trouble, Mom. Real trouble." This was it. The moment of truth. "What kind of trouble?" I asked gently. And Tyler told me everything. About the gambling, about the debt, about the men who'd threatened Nicole and Brandon, about how he'd been trying to fix it, trying to win it back, but kept losing. "I took money from your accounts," he said, crying now. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I forged your signature. I was desperate. I thought I could win it back and pay you back before you noticed." "How much, Tyler?" $115,000. He was sobbing. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I should have felt vindicated. He was confessing, but all I felt was heartbreak. "Tyler," I said quietly, "what about the life insurance policy?" He went still. "What?" "The $500,000 life insurance policy you tried to take out in my name, with you as the beneficiary." His face went white. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Tyler, don't lie to me anymore." "I'm not. Mom, I swear." "The bank called me. Secure Life Insurance. They have your application. They have my forged signature." Tyler stood up, started pacing. "That's not. I wasn't going to." "What were you going to do, Tyler?" My voice was steady now, cold. "Were you going to wait for me to die naturally? Or were you going to help it along?" "No!" He spun around, his face twisted with anguish. "Mom, no. I would never hurt you. I just needed. I thought if something happened to you naturally, at least Brandon would be taken care of." "If something happened to me naturally?" I stood up. "Tyler, I'm 65 years old. I'm healthy. I could live another 20 years. Were you planning to wait 20 years? He stared at me, and I saw it in his eyes. He hadn't been planning to wait. "Get out," I whispered. "Mom, get out of my house!" The door to my office burst open. Detective Rodriguez and 2 officers came in. "Tyler James Sullivan, you're under arrest for bank fraud, identity theft, forgery, and conspiracy to commit fraud." Tyler's face went from shock to panic. No, this is a mistake. Mom, tell them." Rodriguez was putting handcuffs on him. "You have the right to remain silent." Tyler looked at me, tears streaming down his face. "Mom, please. I'm your son. I'm your baby. Please don't do this." I stood there, watching them put my son in handcuffs. "You stopped being my baby," I said quietly, "the moment you decided my life was worth $300,000. They took him away. The door closed, and I collapsed. The trial was held in February 2024, Multnomah County Courthouse, Judge Sarah Henderson presiding. I sat in the front row, Jasmine beside me, Patricia on my other side. Tyler sat at the defendant's table in a suit, looking small and scared. The prosecution presented the evidence: the forged signatures, the bank transfers, the life insurance application, Simon's recordings, my testimony. Tyler's lawyer tried to argue desperation, addiction, that Tyler never intended to harm me. But the jury heard the recording from the bar. She should be in assisted living anyway. I'm actually doing her a favor. They heard about the life insurance policy. They saw the forged signatures. It took them 4 hours to deliberate. Guilty on all counts. Judge Henderson looked at Tyler with disgust. "Mr. Sullivan, you stole from your mother. You forged her signature. You took out a life insurance policy on her life, positioning yourself to benefit from her death. You betrayed the woman who gave you life, who raised you, who loved you unconditionally." She paused. "The sentence is 18 years in the Oregon State Penitentiary." 18 years. Tyler would be 58 when he got out. I would be 83, if I was still alive. They took him away. He looked back at me once, mouthed, "I'm sorry, Mom." I didn't respond. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded us. Jasmine shielded me, got me to the car. We drove home in silence. 6 months later. It's May 2024 now. I moved to Seattle in March. Jasmine helped me find a small apartment in Capitol Hill. 2 bedrooms, big windows, a view of Elliott Bay. I sold the house on Northeast Siskiyou, the house where Robert and I raised our children, where Tyler learned to walk, where Jasmine learned to read. It hurt to leave, but I couldn't stay there. Too many ghosts. My mornings now are simple. Coffee on my small balcony, watching the sunrise over the water. Jasmine comes by 3 times a week. We cook dinner together, watch old movies, talk about everything and nothing. I started volunteering at a senior center in downtown Seattle, teaching yoga again. And once a month I speak at workshops about elder financial abuse. My name is Diane Sullivan, I tell rooms full of people. I'm 66 years old, and I'm here to tell you something important. If someone you love is hurting you, it's okay to protect yourself, even if that person is your child. The first time I gave that talk, 53 people came. Last week, there were 200. I met Maya Torres again in April. I drove down to Portland, found her at the Riverside Assisted Living Facility. She was sitting by a window, reading. "Diane," she said when she saw me. Her face lit up. We sat together for hours. I told her everything. "You saved yourself," she said, holding my hand. "You listened to your instincts." I gave her something, a framed photo. Brandon had drawn it for me, sent it in a letter. It was a picture of a grandmother and grandson, holding hands with the words, "Love doesn't have to hurt." "Keep this," I told Maya, "because you saved me. Your warning, your watch, your words, you gave me the courage to stop running from the truth." Maya cried. "I'm glad my pain could help someone." I see Brandon once a month. Nicole brings him. She divorced Tyler after the trial. She said she had no idea about the gambling, the theft, any of it. I believe her. Brandon writes me letters. Long, thoughtful letters about school, about friends, about how he's feeling. Last week he wrote, "Grandma, I know what Dad did was wrong, but I still love you. Can I still be your grandson?" I wrote back, "Brandon, you will always be my grandson. What your father did is not your fault. It never was. I love you more than you will ever know." Jasmine and I started a foundation in March, the Maya Torres Foundation. We help elderly people who've been financially abused by family members. We provide free legal services, counseling, emergency housing, financial planning. In our first 2 months, we helped 19 families, protected over $2, $7 million from being stolen, 19 people who don't have to go through what I went through. One evening, I'm sitting on my balcony watching the sun set over Seattle. Jasmine is inside making dinner, Robert's favorite recipe, pot roast with carrots and potatoes. My phone rings. Unknown number. I almost don't answer, but something makes me pick up. "Hello? Mrs. Sullivan?" A young woman's voice. "My name is Rebecca Chen. I heard you speak last week at the Queen Anne Senior Center, and I think my son is stealing from me. I found these bank statements, and I don't know what to do, and I'm so scared." "Breathe," I tell her gently. "Just breathe. You're going to be okay." "How do you know?" "Because you called me. Because you're asking for help. That's the hardest part, and you already did it." "What do I do now?" "Now," I say, "you protect yourself. I'll help you. Give me your information, and I'll have someone from our foundation call you tomorrow. We'll walk you through everything, step by step." She cries, thanks me, hangs up. I sit there holding my phone. 20 families now. 20 people who will survive what I survived. Inside, Jasmine calls, "Mom, dinner's ready." I stand up, walk inside to my daughter, my strong, loyal, beautiful daughter who never once made me feel small. On the kitchen table next to our plates is Maya's watch, the silver one that stopped at 3:15. I pick it up, look at it. 3:15 a.m., the moment I found Tyler in my office. 3:15 p.m., the time on Maya's husband's watch when she realized the truth. 3:15, the moment you have to stop running from what you know. "You keeping that out?" Jasmine asks, nodding at the watch. "Yeah," I say. "It reminds me." "Of what?" I think about Tyler in prison, about the life we lost, about the family that broke apart. But I also think about Rebecca Chen, who called tonight, about the 19 families we've already helped, about Brandon's letters, about Jasmine's love, about my small apartment with the view of the water, where I wake up every morning feeling safe. "It reminds me," I tell my daughter, That sometimes stopping is how you survive. You stop running from the truth. You stop sacrificing yourself for people who don't deserve it. You stop pretending that love means letting someone destroy you. I set the watch back down on the table. And when you stop, I continue, that's when you can finally start living again. Jasmine smiles, squeezes my hand. We sit down to dinner. Outside, the sun sets over Elliott Bay. Inside, I'm surrounded by good food, my daughter's laughter, and the quiet peace of knowing I chose myself. I'm 66 years old. I'm alive. And I'm finally free. People ask me sometimes if I've forgiven Tyler. I tell them the truth. I've forgiven myself. And that's enough. Because I spent too many years thinking I wasn't enough. Not enough of a mother. Not enough of a wife after Robert died. Not enough to deserve protection. Not enough to put myself first. Maya Torres taught me that at 65, you don't owe anyone your safety. Not even your son. The greatest victory wasn't putting Tyler in prison. It wasn't recovering any money. I never got that $115,000 back. The greatest victory was waking up one morning, 6 months after the trial, and realizing I hadn't thought about Tyler for an entire day. The greatest victory was hearing Rebecca Chen tell me, 2 months after our first call, "You saved my life." The greatest victory was Brandon's letter last week. "Grandma, I'm proud of you." Last night, I dreamed about Robert. We were sitting on the porch of our old house, the one on Northeast Siskiyou, drinking coffee and watching the sunrise. "You kept your promise," he said. "What promise?" "You didn't let anyone make you feel small." I woke up crying, but they were good tears. "I'm Diane Sullivan. I'm 66 years old. I was warned to stay away from my son." I didn't listen at first, but then I learned that sometimes the person you need to stay away from is the person you love most, and sometimes saving yourself is the only way to honor the people who loved you. Robert would be proud. I'm proud. And tonight, in my small apartment in Seattle, with my daughter in the next room and Maya's watch on my dresser, I sleep peacefully, because I chose life, my own life, and that was enough.